The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shades thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your host, Jason Beck, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It's Friday, August 8th, and today is National Pickleball Day, you guys.
Yeah, I just saw that. Jesus Christ. Everybody's so obsessed with pickleball. Like, no, thank you. Pickleball is tennis for people who aren't athletic.
Do you think so?
It's white people's new favorite sport.
Yeah.
I will say this. I remember playing pickleball in gym class, and that was where I had never heard of it until like 7th grade, and we were playing pickleball. That shit was fun.
How do you play pickleball, Jason?
It's like it's kind of like Foursquare, but with tennis.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because it's like the same size, little thing. Like do you remember Foursquare? When you like
it's
bounce
way bigger
the ball?
than Foursquare, but go ahead.
It's not really bigger than Foursquare. Well, at least we played on Foursquare lines, and then we had a net in the middle. You know what I'm saying? And so maybe in regulation, Jenny Beth.
Keep it going, Jason.
Haters. It's all right. It's also National Mochi Day. You know, I can't figure out if I like mochi or am not a fan of mochi.
Mochi's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
It's meh.
Yeah, fair enough.
Mochi ice cream is good, but mochi itself.
Man, this group has a big lobby apparently because it's National WhatABurger Day.
Okay, WhatABurger's delicious.
Are they good?
Hey, let's go.
I've never had them.
Yeah.
They're good?
It's fast food chain.
WhatABurger is legendary. I have also not had it, but many people tell me.
I don't think I've even ever seen one.
Fire. They have biscuits and gravy.
Well, yeah, because they're in Texas, bro.
Oh, they're in Texas. Okay. That makes sense.
They're in Georgia, too.
That's a Texas-Georgia staple. It's the South.
Okay. All right. That makes sense why I have never experienced one.
But they would pit it against In-N-Out all the time. That's like, they're like, man.
And it's so much better than In-N-Out. It makes In-N-Out eat shit.
That's what people say.
Damn. Well, Dr. Mark, you're going to love this one. I can remember many nights in Vermont. It's Global Sleep Under the Stars Night.
Oh, cool. I like that.
Right? I knew you would.
Yeah.
I knew you would.
I love sleeping under a starry sky.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, when we go to Vermont in the summertime, and like some nights we would camp out like in like tents on the front porch. That was always a good time.
It's beautiful. I mean, if you live around the city, like in Los Angeles or New York metropolitan area, and there's a lot of light pollution, you don't see the full breadth of the Milky Way. But when you're here in the middle of the woods or in the middle of the lake, it's spectacular. It really is. You can actually see literally thousands of stars, and the harder you look, the more stars you see.
Yeah, that was exactly. It was like, man, this is so crazy to see this. I was like, there's this many stars up there. I was always tripping out as a kid about that in Vermont. But Jenny, it's National Dollar Day.
Cool.
I'm not sure if that's for the dollar store or just dollars in general. Maybe it's
that I need $1.
Maybe it's just it's a strip club promotion, Jesse.
I don't need $1 like that.
Just saying.
I do need $1.
This is a very long intro. What other day is it?
It's also National CBD Day today, you guys.
What?
Ooh,
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I'm doing a CBD story.
Look
right?
at that. Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
CBD, right?
CBD, baby. It's National CBD Day. Well, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. There's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above and down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, X, Instagram, Facebook, Kick, as well as on our very own website at www.high9news.com. So welcome to everyone joining us from whatever platform you are joining us from. And we are kicking this off with Miss Jenny Beth Dills. She's the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3 that helps justice-impaired individuals get their lives back on track. And apparently, she's in a hurry today. That's right, it is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on. Like, I figured out yesterday mid-show that, like, the reason why we run so far over time sometimes is because Jason, like, goes down, like, ridiculous rabbit holes because he thinks it's funny and it has nothing to do with the story, and then we spend 15 minutes on something nonsensical trying to teach Jason the basics. So, I figured it out, you guys. I figured out our time crunch. Good morning, Dr. Talleyrand. All right, so, speaking of Jason, Jason Beck was wrong again and reported some fake news.
I was
yesterday,
not wrong.
So let's clear that up.
I was not wrong.
Let's clear that up. No, I'm doing my story. This is my read.
That's not part of your story.
This isn't your part of the show.
Go for it. Continue.
No,
I was
Virgin
not wrong.
Atlantic is not handing out cannabis-infused THC sodas on its flight, despite what was claimed and amplified. There's no partnership, no product, and no truth to the story. The confusion came from a publicity stunt pulled by a company called Drippy, which created a fake rollout complete with forged Virgin Atlantic documents, edited screenshots, and a staged promotional video. After the lie caught fire, one of Drippy's co-founders admitted the entire thing was a conversation starter, more like a deception starter. It wasn't edgy, it wasn't clever, and it was dishonest. And Jason Beck once again ran with the headline without checking the facts.
Stop it.
Let the record show. Virgin Atlantic never served THC sodas, but Drippy definitely served up a steaming cup of fake news, and Beck drank it right up. So, what do you guys think?
Really, that's your whole how you're going to present that. Interesting. Okay. All right, fair enough. Interesting. No, I did not present any fake news. All right. That was out there, that was circling in the thing, and that was the headline, and that was something we're talking about. So, I'm standing on that all day, every day. It was a fun story. Give a fuck what you got to say, Jenny Beth.
Seems like you do.
Is there a possibility of a lawsuit from that, do you think, Jenny?
I mean, depends on how much they pissed off Virgin Atlantic.
Well, I mean, they're associating Virgin with an federally illegal substance that the FAA would definitely not approve of.
But it's federally legal, Jesse. Hemp is federally legal. It's a hemp
THC
beverage.
drinks, though.
Those are. What do you mean? All the beverages are all THC drinks. Delta 9, that's all THC.
Well, the headline that I saw was that it was THC drinks, and I thought that was really interesting that was what they were rolling.
Well, I mean, but if it's D9, D8, it's all THC beverage.
It still seems like they're dragging Virgin into a realm that Virgin probably doesn't want to be in.
I don't know. I mean, they've always been, you know what I'm saying, kind of a edgy type of airline. And Richard Branson, who the owner of it, is an avid supporter of cannabis. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think what they'll probably get the most in trouble, if they get in any trouble for, is for the forged signature on the letter of Virgin Atlantic's letterhead on it from the CEO saying that they were doing this collaboration with Drippy. I would say that would probably be their biggest legal liability. But
Jason literally tried to play the video and show the fucking forged letter. Like,
we didn't try to show that. We did not. No, we did not.
Drank that one.
We did not try to show the letter, Jenny Beth. We did try to play the ad that they made. Yeah, I did. I did. There you go. Now I'm glad you actually getting your facts straight finally.
Well, God, somebody on the show has to.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. T, Dr. Mark?
I think in the long run, Drippy's turned out to be a drip. I don't think this is going to help their marketing at all to sort of put false claims out there. Bad move by Drip.
Dr. T, had you ever heard of Drippy before this whole story? I know I never had.
Well, I know what I'm going to avoid now.
Fair. Fair enough.
Sorry,
right. And this all seems like somebody in marketing got really, really high and was like, it would be fucking fun. And Dr. T, you're a medical doctor. Have you ever seen a virgin with the drip?
Yeah, you can have. You're talking about bacterial vaginitis, and you can have bacterial vaginitis without
I believe I was referring to Lydia.
Huh?
Oh boy!
Oh man!
From a brand perspective, which is where I really come from. The number one rule is to not deceive your customers. Mm-hmm. Because when customers figure out that they're being deceived on any level, even if it's intended to be funny or if there's some other intention, when you trick people and then they go along with it and then they figure out that they've been tricked, there's only one result, and that's that people lose trust. Mm-hmm. So as a brand, this is just not something that you want to do. This is not a move you want to make. You don't want to make a social media move or a PR stunt that creates distrust by showing that you're really at the underneath of it, the brass tacks is you're lying. And then people believe that what else do you lie about? What else do you trick us about? Is it your ingredients? Is it your flavors? Is it what you put in there? Is it actually THCA? Is it, you know what I mean? It's just like, you start to distrust everything. And that's how humans are. If you lie about one thing, how do I know you don't lie about other things?
Mm-hmm. That's a fair point. Very, very fair point. Any thoughts on this, Dr. Mark, before we move on?
Go ahead, No.
No, not particularly.
Okay. Interesting. Have you never tried a drippy beverage, huh?
No, never tried drippy beverages, but we'll talk a little bit about beverages in my story. So
okay, all right, fair enough.
Blow my punchline.
All right, fair enough. Well, on that, we're gonna roll into our first commercial, and we are gonna be right back. Back, you guys, and we are back, you guys.
He doesn't find it funny, but as a show of hands showed it during the break, we all found my story funny.
No one did. That's fake news.
News head honcho, the highest Republican with the worst sense of humor this morning. Put a 1 in the chat if you thought the first story was funny. Put a 2 if Jason's right. Jason back, everybody.
All I see is 2s coming in the chat, Jenny Beth.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of mistakes, you know what I mean? Governor Kathy Hochul, she says it wasn't a mistake. Ex-OCM chief says Hochul approved the cannabis regulations under fire. That's right. Governor Kathy Hochul's office and other state agencies originally signed off on a cannabis rule that's come under fire for allowing hundreds of dispensaries to operate too closely to schools or houses of worship, the former head of the State of Office Cannabis Management said. Chris Alexander, OCM's former executive director who left the agency more than a year ago after the governor removed him from the office, said Hochul has unfairly blamed him for the fallout of her administration's decision to change the state's interpretation of cannabis law in measuring the required 500 feet buffer between a dispensary and schools and houses of worship. In a quote, he says, "This wasn't an oversight. It was a mistake. It was a choice," said Alexander. Now the executive director of the NAACP's state conference says, "Because if we had conducted a measurement in this particular way, there wouldn't be space for dispensaries in much of the city," he says. Dozens more businesses could be impacted by the change that didn't know it yet. And state cannabis regulators notified over 150 cannabis businesses and licenses on July 28th that their licenses cannot be renewed because they're too close to schools or houses of worship. But the number of impacted businesses is expected to be higher because many licenses said the change in policy is expected to also include daycare centers, nursery schools, part-time after-school programs, and other facilities where children are cared for. In a quote, "There's schools, childcares, daycares everywhere," said Matt Robinson, director of the Cannabis Retail Alliance of New York. "And of course, you always have to protect the kids. But business owners need some protections as well," he says. Matt Robinson owns a Legacy Cannabis and Weed Dispensary in Cooley, but his shop isn't impacted. He said he's heard from licenses who say the OCM incorrectly notified them that they were on the list, and other shop owners who were told they have a dispensary too close to a school said they can't find the violating facility on OCM's online map for applicants to find potential locations. OCM said the map is a helpful tool, but has limits because of the database issues beyond the department's control. Of course, it's beyond the department's control. In a quote, "There's going to be more than just 152, Robinson said. Once the OCM does a really thorough review and really starts looking into this, the numbers are only going to go up, and that's going to be more hurt people and more impacted dispensaries." OCM continues to assess how many businesses will be impacted. In a quote, "The Office of Cannabis Management recognizes that prior leadership made decisions with the intention of streamlining licensing and expanding location opportunities for entrepreneurs, particularly in densely populated areas." OCM Acting Executive Director Felicia A.B. Reed said in a statement, "While those intentions may have been well-meaning, they resulted in an agency practice that conflicted with a clear letter of the law. OCM's regulatory responsibility is plain. The agency must follow the law to ensure the long-term stability and health of the legal market and to protect the Marijuana Regulation and Taxation Act's social and economic equity goals," they say. Alexander said he's confused by the change, which could cause New York's entire legal cannabis market to collapse. And in a quote says, "This policy, if effectuated, will collapse in New York's cannabis market, period," he said. "There's not going to be a location for these people to move to. It's unrealistic." I agree with that. Hochul's office and several top aides from the State Budget Division and Department of State approved OCM's regulations in June of 2023, including the rule to measure to a school entrance instead of the property line. And the regulations were reviewed over a 1.5-year process, including public comment and various presentations to local municipal boards across the state that the governor's office participated in. In a quote, they say, "We developed the rule. It was brought to everybody. It was assessed by everybody multiple times," Alexander said. "It wasn't a secret." But Hochul won't stop placing the onus on Alexander for the state's miscalculations and making a change that sent dozens of retailers into chaos. In a quote, he wrote it, "So he knows the law," Hochul told the reporters earlier this week. "The way it was applied by an individual, which surprisingly is the individual who wrote the law, applied it in a way that followed what the state liquor authority does." Senate Finance Committee Chair Liz Kruger, who helped author the 2020 law that legalized adult use cannabis, agrees Alexander shouldn't be blamed for the problem, and in a quote says, "When everyone keeps going, the previous OCM administration got it wrong. I don't think they did anything in isolation or independent from the full state government review process," she said. "It appears the state believed they were doing exactly what they were allowed to do in the regulatory framework, and nobody skipped any steps and nobody kept anything hidden," she says. OCM said the department is not directing impacted license holders to close or move their businesses, and they do not need to change their current business plans according to guidance sent Wednesday to an initial list, and OCM and Hochul's office have both said they're working on a legislative fix like grandfathering existing businesses under the old rules. Ospert Unada's license to operate the cannabis place in Queens will expire in October or before the session resumes in January, and he said in a recent OCM advisory intended to give retailers a grace period if their licenses expire isn't enough to legally protect shops to stay open. In a quote, he says, "Our banks require us to have a valid license in order to bank with them," Orduna said. "Our insurance company requires us to have a valid license in order to have an account with them. New York State Workers' Comp requires us to have a valid license in order to have a policy, and our landlords and many leases indicate very clearly that you have to have a valid license to operate. So these are just a handful of ways their solution is not a solution because it will not give us a valid license," he says. Senator Kruger said there's no reason for an emergency session nor for cannabis stores to panic. Says they'll be forced to close. An extensive litigation is expected to be filed in the state over the confusion in the coming weeks, but Kruger said a court could find the state's original interpretation was within the purview of state law. In a quote, "The court could say there's no reason to change anything and none of these licenses approved through a multi-step review process are in violation of the law. Hence, you don't need legislative change," Kruger said. "So we don't need to go back for an emergency special session." I don't think so, he says. Assembly Majority Leader Crystal Peoples-Stokes, who also sponsored the MRTA, said she learned of the issue 2 weeks ago, and in a quote says, "The previous OCM administration attempted to do the right thing with regard to public input," Peoples-Stokes said on Thursday. "However, legislation can be changed, and the vast majority of colleagues that I have spoken to are in full favor of a legislative fix, and that legislative fix will be agreed to, and no licenses will be harmed in the process," she says. At least 6 people familiar with conversations between Hochul's office and OCM say the governor directed top staff in April to research and work on issues with the proximity rule, and the Cannabis Control Board passed a resolution in March 20th to address a problem where schools or houses of worship opened too close to a location months after an application was submitted. Spokesperson with Hochul's office denies such meetings took place this spring during budget negotiations, and the governor didn't learn about this until after session ended in June. And a spokesperson for Senate Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins and Assembly Speaker Carl Hissiti both said legislative leaders were not notified of the issue until late July. Governor Kathy Hochul's office deferred all questions to the OCM, and in a final quote, "OCM has been listening to impacted businesses and communities coming out of this proximity correction and understands their challenges," Reed said in a statement. "That engagement is driving the agency's collaboration with Governor Hochul and the legislature to address the issue, and we will keep working to support impacted businesses, strengthen market integrity, and safeguard the industry from future vulnerabilities," she says. Wow. New York, you're such a train wreck. And the fact that Governor Hochul is saying that is trying to put the blame on this guy who was the former OCM director is just totally ridiculous to me, but I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. New York.
Not cool. How cool.
Right? It's such a train wreck, Jesse. I mean, bro, can you imagine putting all that money and time into opening a business and then them telling you, "Oh, you know what? We messed up on our land use, and that's just kind of what it is." And now they're trying to say that they're going to make this legislative fix to grandfather everybody in. I mean, the reality, New York shouldn't have any land use when it comes to proximity issues, I feel, when it comes to cannabis, because it's such a densely populated market. I think anything is just totally ridiculous.
Well, being right from New York, it's such, the media is everywhere there. Yeah. And everything you do is highly scrutinized. A misstep here, a misstep there. As long as they keep moving forward and getting this right for the consumer and the patient, hopefully they're moving forward with this. They're arguing over how the distance around schools. Yeah, mostly. Is that right? I don't think that should even be an argument. In regards to, there's no evidence that a cannabis dispensary near a school is damaging. So why even have the rule? And actually, the evidence shows the opposite, that it may improve the area. So why even have the rule?
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's just to sell. Well, sometimes it's just to sell media too. Media is a business.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's part of it. Reefer madness sells, right? It's anything that's dramatic and like, oh my God, there's gonna be so many problems. People are gonna die and get CUD and hyperemesis. And everyone's gonna fall over, and children are gonna suffer, and dogs are gonna overdose.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, all the illegitimate shops don't have a land use requirement, and they just pop up wherever they want. So it doesn't pay to follow the rules in New York, apparently, as far as I'm concerned.
As long as they're screening for pesticides and toxins, that's my concern with the illegitimate one.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel you on that. I mean,
it's a simple test.
Yeah,
they can just submit their stuff.
I mean, oh man, Dr. Mark, you're right next to New York.
Yeah, and every time we talk about New York, I can't help but think about the trap market down in the city. And all the shops that are just regular bodegas and sandwich shops and magazine stores and just everyone who sells cannabis. It's just another item of commerce. I don't know how they snuff that out. And I don't know if anything that Hochul and the leaders in Albany can do. Yeah. How do they figure this market out?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're so right. I mean, they have zoning software where these different types of businesses pop up, and you know what I mean, a little radius thing, and say, oh, you know what, you're too close within a whatever. But New York is so densely populated. I agree with one of the quotes in there. It said if you went by that, then there would be nowhere in these densely populated areas in New York where a cannabis business would be allowed to operate. I totally agree with that, and that's why I say I don't think there should be any land use ordinance as far as a proximity issue when it comes to this. They should say you just can't open next door to one of these places would make a lot more sense than any of it.
Well, and there's 3 to 5 shops on every block in Manhattan.
Yeah. Right.
And Manhattan is a very densely populated place to live. So I mean, yeah. Good luck, New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's silly. I guarantee you they allow alcohol sales in bodegas. They're not shutting them down for being too close to a school.
Exactly.
Well, and what is this new mayoral candidate who sounds like he's just going to immediately mess everything up, right? I mean...
Oh, holy shit, we agree on that? Holy shit. I said, holy shit, we agree on that he's just going to screw everything up.
Well, I don't know. He's talking about some really broad brush strokes to, talk about affordability of housing. I don't even think cannabis is on his radar.
He's totally crazy. Now. He's totally crazy.
I mean, but so, again, is the city of New York or the state of New York able to stop the trap market in New York City?
They haven't been able to do it yet. Yeah, they haven't been able to do it yet, Dr. Mark.
Every time I hear about story about upstate New York and Kathy Hochul, and I know that there's a lot of Native American reservations up in upstate New York that basically participate in the cannabis trade. They have casinos, and wherever you have casinos, you got, again, dispensaries selling shady, probably beasters that are not even grown in New York. I mean, yeah, it is so multifaceted, and I don't know that any regulation coming out of Albany is going to affect what goes on in the Big Apple.
I just don't. I feel you. You have any final thoughts on this, Jenny, before we move on? Okay. Well, we're going to roll right into Dr. Jean Talleyrand. He's the founder of the CESC and of Medican, where you can get your doctor's recommendations online all the time, every time. It is none other than Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
Thank you, Jason. Happy Friday, everyone. Hope you're doing well out there, getting ready for the weekend. So my story today is from Insurance Business. Pennsylvania bill pushes insurance to cover medical marijuana for workers' comp by Matthew Sellers. Pennsylvania is moving to make workers' comp insurance pay for medical cannabis, a shift that could change how claims are handled across the state. On July 28, 2025, House Bill number 1766 was introduced in the Pennsylvania General Assembly. The bill proposes an amendment to the Act of June 2, 1915, known as the Workers' Compensation Act. The purpose of the bill is to require employers to provide reimbursement to a qualifying patient who obtains medical cannabis for certified medical use under the Act of April 17, 2016, known as the Medical Marijuana Act. The bill was referred to the Committee on Labor and Industry on August 4, 2025. If enacted, the act will take effect in 60 days. The bill states that a qualifying patient shall be eligible for a dollar-to-dollar reimbursement on medical cannabis for a maximum monthly reimbursement of $250. Any monthly amount in excess of $250 that the qualifying patient spends on medical cannabis or manufactured cannabis products is not eligible for reimbursement under this provision. The yearly maximum for reimbursement is $3,000. The bill also provides that an insurer shall establish a system to reimburse qualifying patients under this provision on at least a quarterly basis. In addition, a patient shall be eligible for reimbursement of the fee to obtain and renew the identification card required for a patient to be dispensed medical cannabis under the Medical Marijuana Act. The bill focuses solely on updating the state's workers' compensation statute without addressing or altering any existing insurance policy language. Its changes are limited to the statutory schedule of compensation. So Pennsylvania is a medical-only state. The bill continues to follow that logic by supporting workers' comp reimbursement for medical cannabis. Meanwhile, the federal government still considers marijuana, defined as cannabis, with THC content greater than 0.3%, a drug without medical use. There's a significant evidence that cannabis is safe and effective. Approving medical cannabis for patients is medically responsible despite the lack of acknowledgement by the federal government. Patients who use medical cannabis use less prescriptions, medicine, and have improved quality of life. If improved, the Pennsylvania legislature will have taken another step toward benefiting patients and contradicting the federal policy position. This bill will also likely benefit the cannabis industry by increasing sales. Potential issues occur when state law contradicts federal law. For example, will employees working for UPS, a national company, qualify? What do you think? Does this bill raise more questions or does it help patients? This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand.
I think it's probably going to raise more questions, Dr. T, ultimately, because there's all these different agencies conflict in their with their policy.
Well, maybe raising questions is the way to improve the situation. Seems like it's the current offices. Executive offices way to do it.
It could. I mean, Jenny, you specialize in stuff like this. What do you have to say about this?
In what regard, Jason?
I mean, you don't specialize in stuff like this?
I do.
Okay, well then, so what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are, I was on a call. Sorry.
I mean, there's no point
trying to approve workers comp for medical patients. Mm-hmm. $250 a month they get reimbursed
for cannabis.
For cannabis, if you're a workers' comp.
I mean, I think it's unfortunately probably going to go the way that the states who tried to make commercial insurance policies cover it. But I mean, I think that's great. That's fine. Nice try. We'll see.
My worry is like UPS. What happens with UPS if Pennsylvania's got a law? Do they follow Pennsylvania law or federal law?
Federal law. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened when they tried to push that through. I can't remember what state it was that was trying to have healthcare policies cover medical cannabis. And it ended up falling flat on its ass.
Did I misunderstand this though, Dr. T? Isn't this state workers' compensation?
This is workers' comp, yeah.
Yeah, so this is from the state, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is from the state of Pennsylvania. Yeah, exactly.
So the state kind of has the ability with workers' comp to actually sidestep all that.
Well, workers' compensation is a requirement, and it's the state office of insurance governs how all these policies are run, but they are still issued by private providers, right? And the state fund is like usually the cheapest to get most business insurances from, right? But it's still going to fall under an insurance policy, and I think that they're still going to have an issue. I think they're still going to run into the same issue. And then we run into, okay, cool. So workers' compensation fund. Now, cool. So we're just going to stop drug testing state employees. We're going to stop drug testing police officers. We're going to stop drug testing firefighters. I mean, and I don't agree with the fact that they shouldn't be able to use cannabis in their off time. But I think that this is going to, we're pulling one very small piece of yarn, and that sweater is going to fall off pretty soon.
Well, yeah, I mean, they should stop testing anyway. So,
yeah, I'm all for that. I'm
they
all for that.
Absolutely should, but are they going to? And do we really feel like that's, the world we're about to live in?
I don't think they're going to. I don't think.
I try to be cautiously optimistic, but.
Yeah, I don't see how it's in their best interest, best financial interest to stop testing. Overall, like that's one of their whole, what I mean? It's like them giving up asset forfeiture for cops. You know what I mean? Like they're not trying to give that up.
I mean, it's not looking so good for the home team.
Yeah, exactly. It will be interesting to watch.
Famous for saying stop the testing.
Say that again. Say that again, Dr. Mark?
I said, who else was famous for saying stop the testing?
I don't know. Who was that?
Again, it's a bad joke. During COVID, right? Trump was
fair enough. I mean,
stop the testing.
I mean, yeah. I mean,
you can't get positive results if we're not testing.
I mean, that is. I mean, I guess that's a fair point. I'm not mad at that, Dr. Mark. I'm not mad at that. Stop the testing in that one because it's total bullshit. We already all knew that one. You know what I mean? Oh man. Any final thoughts on this, Jesse, before we move on?
The thought that I had that I don't think anyone's covered is $250 a month for something that's medical when it's workers' compensation, whatever it might be. It seems like that might be low. People who actually need serious medical attention and cannabis for serious medical reasons. $250 a month can be, I mean, if you're buying expensive RSO or something that's really a unique product, that can go very, very fast. So it should be assessed upon each situation, just a kind of blanket $250, but also it's better than nothing.
Yeah, $250 is not going to last long. You're right about that, Jesse. That is $250.
That's like the budget of a light smoker.
Yeah.
I estimate the average user around $400 a month.
That makes more sense. $100 a week is a little closer.
And
then I think Dr. T, you would agree that certain conditions demand more usage and unique products, which are going to be wildly expensive. Like I just know that RSO is pretty expensive. And if you have
and it's not well stocked. I mean, it's all about flower in these stores anyway. I mean, that's why a lot of the patients are going outside of, to the traditional market because the products are just not even there in a lot of the dispensaries in California. They're catering to the recreational market, not the
Yeah. You know, and you know, at the same time too, a lot of these specialty products that are kind of more medically focused are generally more expensive. I mean, you know, $80-$100, and so, you know, granted, yes, they will probably last a little bit longer than an eighth would last for someone, but you know, these things aren't cheap to make and produce, and then on top of the overtaxation in every market, it doesn't make any of these things any more cost effective.
Why are we talking about overtaxation right now, Jason, when we're talking about medical products?
Because medical products are overtaxed because all cannabis is overtaxed, Jenny Beth. That's why.
Okay, Jason. Yeah.
It's not like there's it's not like there's some exemption for medical products.
What's one of the biggest reasons that people still have med cards in recreational markets?
Because there's no tax.
There you go, Jesse.
That's sales tax. That's sales tax. That's not the other taxes. That's cute.
Yeah,
that's cute.
Absolutely,
that's cute.
Jason.
That's
but
cute.
to the consumer, that's the reason why there's no sales tax on it to the consumer.
And if you just look at California, how many people actually have a med card? No, I'm not. Because you're making pointless points.
But it's a point, so I'm going to make it. You do it all the time. So yes, Jason, it kind of evens that all out. So yes, to make the product, you're still paying tax on that at a manufacturing level.
Yep.
But for the consumer, there are definitely tax benefits to being a medical user. So those prices are not going to.
I'm going to say that there's not. It's a very small amount. And just as an example, in California. Okay, if you want to take advantage of not being subject to sales tax, you have to have a recommendation, then you have to go to the health department and get a state card from your county. Okay, correct. That's a whole bunch of extra steps, and the amount of people that actually have state cards in the state of California is minute compared to the amount of people that have had recommendations or have recommendations currently today.
Well, if I need that really expensive medical product and I'm a medical patient, I'm definitely going to go get that card, Jason.
You know, a lot of times, too, at the same time, too, the amount of money that medical patients spend, they don't actually make back after the cost of these cards at the same time as well. So those, and I think those should be subsidized as well. But that's not the case either.
This bill does that, actually. This bill reimburses for your doctor's
This bill does?
And this.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
That's part of it, too.
That's good.
Dr. T with the alley-oop from downtown. Let's go.
This is a very interesting debate. I think it's definitely, moving the needle forward, though. I think it gets us a little closer. I don't know if people agree with incrementalism, though.
Yeah, and that's the important part, right? So, like, whether it actually ends up shaking out and working or not, like, the more that we bring these conversations up and continue to have them, the closer we are to the day when it does work. So, I mean, I think it's progress.
Fair enough. And on that, we are going to roll into our next commercial, and we are going to be right back.
I'm Cole Preston, and today I'm at Blue Island Beer Company for the premiere of my mini documentary on legalization policy in Illinois. I've been following cannabis policy since colorful Colorado legalized it all the way back in the day. And when my home state of Illinois decided to legalize it, I just became enamored. I wondered, what would it actually look like? If you'd like to see how Illinois fell short in achieving meaningful reform in their cannabis policy, you can watch my mini-doc now at colememo.com/mini-doc.
Yes. Oh, yes. Cool. And we are back. Stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it. And YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com.
I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door. And then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
Ah, and we are back. And coming up next is Dr. Mark Scialdone. He's a cannabis researcher, a scientist, a chemist in the great Champlain region of the Green Mountain state of Vermont. That's right, it is none other than Dr. Mark Scialdone.
Yes, I'm also a professor too.
Oh, yes.
Guy who invented his own cannabinoid, right? So I'm the inventor of HHCA. I think that's the world supply right there.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's see what's going on today, folks. It's Friday. Let's see, it's August 8th, right? Which is a good time of the year, at least.
It's 8/8 today, bro. 8/8.
8/8, yes, 8/8/25, right?
Yeah.
So today, my story comes from UConn today. UConn meaning UConn, so University of Connecticut's, and a blog here on research and discovery, and it's from Anna Zara Aldrich from the College of Agricultural Health and Natural Resources, and it's entitled "Down the Drain, UConn Student Researcher Discovers the Truth About Some CBD Coffee Products." CBD coffee products? Is that a thing? I didn't know that. So learn something new every day.
CBD,
so the results showed that. Have you seen CBD coffees?
Yeah, I've seen CBD in everything. I've seen a CBD-infused
right?
pillow.
Right, pillows, toilet paper, right. If you could sell it, it's got CBD in it. Okay, so the results showed that brewed coffee contains 70 to 80% less CBD than what the labels claimed. Oh, this is always a fun thing to learn about, right? And they show a picture here of some guy who's going to graduate, this guy Colby Legault, who's part of the class of 2027. Do you believe that? We're talking about the class of 2027. Crazy. Working in the laboratory, so they're showing a student in the laboratory handling what I guess are hemp plants, because I would imagine they're probably not letting the students put their hands on cannabis plants. And it says, working in the laboratory of Gerald Berkowitz. I don't know Gerald. I'll have to look him up after this. Professor of horticulture in the Department of Plant Science, Landscape Architecture. Tested 2 commercially available brands of CBD coffee to see how much CBD is in a brewed cup. So since 2018, U.S. farmers have been able to legally grow hemp with a THC content of below 0.3%. This has led to an explosion of products containing CBD compound found in hemp that, unlike THC, does not produce a hallucinogenic effect. So CBD has been hailed for its potential to help with a host of conditions, including pain, anxiety, poor sleep, and inflammation. None of the products, however, are regulated by the FDA. This means that consumers don't know if the amount of CBD listed on the package is what their bodies are actually processing. So Colby Legault, again, class of UConn 2027, working in the laboratory of Gerald Berkowitz, professor of horticulture in the Department of Plant Science and Landscape Architecture, tested 2 commercially available brands of CBD coffee. See how much CBD is in a brewed cup. Legault used high-pressure liquid chromatography. We all know that that's something we call HPLC, right, which is a routine technique that testing labs use to determine cannabinoid potency and the amount of cannabinoids in cannabis products, right? So they used HPLC under the supervision of a graduate student and Fulbright fellow Daniel Giraldo to analyze the cannabinoids. So it sounds like it's great training for this guy, especially when he shows up in a paper, so he can put this on his resume and he'll probably immediately get hired. The results showed that the brewed cup contained 70 to 80% less CBD than the label claims. Almost nothing is showing up in the end result when you brew a cup of coffee, Legault says. We found that these companies are marketing their products as having as this much CBD in it, while we find that that may be true at some point in the process. It's not bioavailable form upon brewing. Is not actually understanding everything that's going on. I'll break it down in a minute. But CBD coffee is made by adding CBD oil to coffee grounds, right? CBD oil is hydrophobic, meaning it repels water. Hence, brewing cannot extract the CBD to make it available for the body to process. CBD oil may not be evenly distributed throughout the bag, which accounts for some sample-to-sample variation, Legault observed. If you put CBD oil in a can of coffee and drink it, can of coffee? Really? Are there such things as a can of coffee? If you put CBD oil in a can of coffee and drink it, you would be drinking the oil. It would be then digested and you'd experience a set of effects associated with CBD, Legault says. But when it comes to coffee grounds, the CBD is there, but it's an oil. True, but okay. But since that oil is hydrophobic, it does not bind to the water, so nothing is extracted. Therefore, none of the cannabinoids are released into the water that will become your coffee. While Legault's project is only focused on coffee, he assures that they are likely present in other types of CBD products as well. He points out the potential issues of consumer protection as well as it relates to human health and inaccurate marketing, talking about people's hard-earned dollars. If a company isn't directly sending their food products to food scientists and third-party testing labs, it is extremely difficult or extremely likely that consumers are likely going to have inconsistencies in these products, Legault says. I think it's important that we put an emphasis on quality control for these products, especially if people are putting them into their bodies. Legault intends to continue cannabis research in the Berkowitz lab by identifying cannabinoids with antimicrobial properties. Ooh, that's interesting. I'm interested in that. The cannabis industry is so new, Legault says. Due to prohibition, we have so much research to be catching up on. Well, again, this guy's just an undergraduate who doesn't realize that there's been over 10,000 papers published relating to cannabinoids in the past 5 years in the peer-reviewed scientific literature. Legault says he values having the opportunity to do this kinds of hands-on research as an undergrad. That is definitely a positive. And I have undergraduates here at St. Michael's College, so we feel the same way. Exposing these students to undergraduate research really gives them the one-up on students who didn't do research as an undergrad. What we're doing at University of Connecticut is extremely valuable, giving students the opportunity to get early hands-on experience testing cannabis-derived products, Legault says. And that's the article. Okay, so a couple misconceptions here, but all in all, it basically says that if you take CBD oil, wait a second, CBD is a white crystalline solid. It's not an oil. Before it turns into a white crystalline solid, it could be crystallized from a distillate. So I would take it that what they're calling CBD oil is CBD distillate that's probably diluted with coconut oil or MCT oil. Then you have truly CBD oil. Okay, so think about it. About your K-cup, right? Or your little coffee pod that you use and you truly use. Right? You take the coffee grounds in there and you spray distillate on there, right? Okay. So the distillate will basically be in the coffee. Now, if you take one of those pods to a testing lab, right? That testing lab isn't going to just brew the coffee and test the coffee. Testing lab is going to take the coffee out of the pod, and they're going to rinse it with something called methanol or acetonitrile, which solubilizes cannabinoids, right? So the testing result might indeed come back if you're trying to put 10 or 100 milligrams in that single coffee pod. Results should basically say, okay, yeah, there's 10 or 100 milligrams, because they're not using water, right? Which cannabinoids are not soluble in, right? Ever try cleaning your bong out with water? Doesn't work too well, right? You need a solvent that solvates these cannabinoids. So the conundrum here is that the testing lab will take that coffee pod, right, extract it with methanol in which the cannabinoids are soluble, and get a true and accurate reading of how much cannabinoids are on the coffee, ground coffee in that pod. But as the article points out, when you take that coffee pod, now put it into a coffee maker, and now inject boiling water over the top of that, boiling water, as opposed to room temperature water, will dissolve a trace amount of the CBD. Because hot water, the CBD is not soluble in water, but it's more soluble in hot water. So the hot water solubility of CBD is probably in the, I would say, micrograms per gram. So you're not going to get a lot in there because even the hot water doesn't solubilize the CBD, right? So putting CBD into a coffee product where you're just hitting it with hot water is never going to work. However, and Dr. T, verify with this with me. So if you're using a CBD tincture, basically that tincture is not actually a tincture. A tincture, to an herbal chemist like myself, would be an alcoholic extract that then we take plant material, we take an alcohol, we extract it, and then when we boil away the alcohol, that is what a tincture is. Cannabis industry has sort of bastardized the term tincture into anything that can be orally delivered. So typically what you would do is take either CBD isolate, which is what this is, or CBD distillate, and take that distillate or isolate and put it into MCT oil, and now you have MCT oil dissolved CBD. That's typically what is found in a tincture. Tinctures that look like this, right? With a little dropper bottle, right? You know how much CBD is in the bottle, so you could basically dose your CBD into your coffee cup. So what I recommend is you brew a regular cup of coffee, but certainly what's going to help emulsify those cannabinoids is something like milk, or a non-dairy creamer, or soy milk, or oat milk. Anything like that is going to emulsify the cannabinoids. So if you just took CBD out of a dropper like this and dropped it into a hot cup of coffee, well, again, the hot water that's the base of coffee is not going to dissolve this. So what you'll see is an oil sheen on the top, because the oil is lighter than the water. Water is more dense, right? So the oil is basically going to create an iridescent sheen. And what you might actually see is the oil is going to plate around on the side of your coffee cup. If you use a white coffee cup, you add a CBD tincture that's kind of amber brown like that, what you'll see is it'll leave a brown ring around the outside of your coffee cup. Because the coffee is not enough to emulsify the CBD, especially at higher doses. So what you do is you add milk, or you add some type of creamer, non-dairy creamer, I think I already said oat milk, soy milk, whatever. What that'll do is that'll now emulsify the oil and equally distribute that throughout the cup of coffee. Now what you do is you just brew a regular cup of coffee, add your cream and sugar if that's what you add, and then add a few drops of your tincture, your oil-based tincture, stir that, and what you'll see, especially if you use a little MCT in your oil, that's the secret behind the so-called bullet coffee, right? MCT actually does a great thing for the caffeine that's in coffee in that it delivers it into the brain. And actually, what I know just anecdotally from talking to friends who got on that bullet coffee is that bullet coffee completely quells their appetite for up to 8, sometimes even 12 hours. So if you are trying to lose some weight, you're trying to maybe fast and not have those hunger pains throughout the day, what I was told is that you could either use ghee is clarified butter, or you could use MCT oil, or a combination of two of those. Put that into your coffee or into your tea. You could add some cannabinoid to that, but that effect of adding that type of fat into your coffee actually is the appetite suppression of caffeine, a boost in your body. So those of you who are interested in losing weight, I think that's the magic behind the bullet coffee. The other thing I just wanted to say is that, one of the things, so CBD isolate should be a white crystalline solid like that. What you'll see on the shelf often, so this is some older CBD, I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of a little yellowish, right? So CBD sitting on the shelf will start to oxidize when it's exposed to air. So that too can basically lower the amount of CBD. So if you ever see a colored CBD product that's particularly pink or purple, that typically means that the CBD has oxidized to the hydroquinone, and it no longer is CBD, but it's the CBD hydroquinone. The other thing I wanted to mention is that, again, I like using milk as an analogy. Everyone's hearing about these cannabis-based beverages, and what's made the cannabis-based beverages possible is this. This is not milk. What you're looking at here is a THC nanoemulsion. This is one that I prepared. Here's the CBD nanoemulsion. Notice how they both look like milk. These are 10% cannabinoid, right? And so what you do is you would take a little bit of this. Now, this is nanoemulsified, right? So if you're just putting CBD oil into your MCT oil, it's not nanoemulsified version. The nanoemulsified version greatly increases the biological, or what's called bioavailability, of the cannabinoids. So I think what he was saying here in the article is that cannabinoids aren't bioavailable when they're just in an oil that's plated onto the coffee. And again, that hot water is not rinsing that CBD into your coffee cup. All the CBD oil is basically staying behind on the spent grounds, right? So don't buy CBD coffee pods, okay? If you want to put CBD into your coffee, put it into the coffee after your coffee is made. If you have access to nanoemulsion, I think what you'll find is that a very low dose of cannabinoids can give you the desired effect. If you're just using regular tinctures, you can just add that as you add your milk and sugar. Again, the milk will act as basically the emulsifier, because what is milk? Milk, similar to the nanoemulsion, is an aqueous solution of emulsified fat. Okay? So that's our chemistry lesson today from the halls of St. Michael's College. This is a crazy article because I didn't know there were CBD coffees. I would tell people again, if you want to put CBD in your coffee, do it after the coffee is brewed, and don't rely on some CBD dose that's in a coffee pod. Coffee pod. Pod, not pot. Anyway, that's my story today. I hope everyone has a great weekend, and I hope cannabis is in your plans this weekend. I'd be interested in what my other correspondents have to say about this story.
I was going to say they're giving new meaning to the word coffee pot.
Exactly.
Actually, there's a cannabis-based beverage in Minnesota called Coffee Pot. It's basically coffee with emulsified THC in it.
That's kind of cute.
As a cold brew, I'm not much on cold brews, but I know that that's pretty popular drink these days.
You know what? Drip should have been a coffee brand. Now that I think about it, that would have been way better.
That would have been more on brand for that word, for sure.
Look, Jesse approved. I know my branding idea was good.
It works. It works.
I mean,
there's
Dr.
one more
Mark?
way to drink the coffee. I mean, not the coffee, to drink cannabis. It's an old way where you take about a gram of flour and boil it in 2 cups of water, lid on. And we evaluated what we called decoction, water decoction, or so my patients call it the water tea. Some of them use it for their pain. So there were both neutral and acidic cannabinoids after boiling it for 20 minutes.
Wow.
Left in the water. Not a ton, but enough to create some effect.
But the
That's
cannabinoids aren't going to be water soluble, so they're just going to create some like oil residue around the side of the cup or something, or right?
Well, it's usually, it's what it's done is it's used right away. Yeah. So if you let it sit on a shelf, it will definitely not be as productive as it was made right away. But this was made for people with Crohn's, and it seemed to help people with Crohn's. So something was working. Plus, the acidic cannabinoids solubilized better than the neutral cannabinoids.
That's right. That's right. Acidic cannabinoids will be slightly more soluble. That's right.
Dr. Mark, won't the oil bond onto the carbohydrate in the flour in that situation when you're boiling flour together with the cannabinoids? Won't they grab onto each other?
Carbohydrate. What carbohydrate are you talking about?
So he said you put a gram of flour in the water and boil it.
I strained the flour out after you finish boiling.
When you say flour, you don't mean baking flour, do you?
I mean ground cannabis flour, about a gram in 2 cups of water, boiled for 2 hours. Not even 20 minutes.
Oh, that kind.
Lid on, low heat.
Because it decarbs into the water.
What the community does. What's that?
Well, he said some of it decarbs, but some of it doesn't. You said, right?
Correct. A significant amount doesn't decarb, so you're getting acidic cannabinoids. I mean, you could go directly Dr. Courtney's method of acidic cannabinoids and just juice the cannabis flower too. Some people let the leaves sit in apple juice for 5 hours and then blend it in a Vitamix and then drink that. I've got lots of beverage homemade recipes from the patients out there.
Dr. T, this makes sense that putting the CBD oil onto the grounds is not making a coffee cup that contains any CBD at all, right? Or
that's
very
right.
little.
Yeah, that's all marketing and not reality. Right?
Dr. Mark,
So
why aren't they making a creamer?
What the solubility of CBD is in boiling water, and it's more than room temperature water, but it's still exceedingly small.
Why is nobody making a creamer for this? This seems like an obvious oversight. If I was going to make a product and make pods, it seems more expensive to make pods that don't work than to just make a creamer where you can just mix.
So what you can do...
That's a great idea, Jesse. I've heard that idea before. Jesse,
I think people are doing this. So you can take the nano emulsion and you can spray dry it to remove the water. You get a white powder. Now you can just take that white powder and add that to beverage du jour to make cannabinoid-containing beverage. So there's a company in Colorado called Ripple that basically makes a little sachet, a 10 milligram sachet that you just rip open and you could add to, any drink at a bar or soda or milk or whatever.
But that's a powder, though, right? That's a powder.
What's that?
That's a powder, though.
It's a powder. That's right.
Yeah. Jesse's talking about, like a little quart, you know what I'm saying, quart of milk creamer kind of thing that people could just pour into their coffee. Well, that would make more sense.
The problem with the dairy is cold supply chain costs a lot of money, right? You need to have things refrigerated. You need to have things inspected by the American Dairy Association. It's just a complete set of quality control measures that is out of cannabis's league altogether. Yeah.
But
so to make a refrigerated, dairy-based product containing cannabinoids would be extremely expensive, and the infrastructure required to do that by the letter of the law would be, pretty expensive.
But you could do it. You could do it
rather than doing it again. Like when you go to dispensaries, you'll see cannabis-based cannabinoid beverages in cold storage, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they've been kept cold ever since they were made, right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of them are sitting in warehouses, and you'll be lucky if the warehouse is air conditioned, right? But you can imagine as those cans heat up in the middle of the summer that it could basically denature the emulsification that's keeping the cannabinoids in solution. Now you lose potency to the side of the cans.
Go for it, Jesse. Ask the question.
I understand the problem with milk and actual cream, like the FDA and the supply chain processes that would make that difficult and expensive. But couldn't you mix this with an MCT oil or a coconut oil or a coconut milk or something that's
absolutely more... But just do that at home. Why you need a product with that? So if you wanted to take your
I'm talking
CBD
about how
oil...
we make some money. I'm not talking about
making money is impossible in the cannabis industry because it's a race to the bottom.
If you're doing these products where you're selling CBD coffee, right? Why not make something that actually works, that's a creamer-based product that people would mix in their coffee?
Well, again, just the whole cold storage supply chain is expensive, man.
But I think Dr. Mark, I think what Jesse is alluding to is like if you were to make something with like a coconut milk or oat milk or something like that, are those subject to the same type of dairy regulations that traditional dairy is subject to? And I'm not too sure about that.
No,
what about like a Coffee Mate? Like Coffee Mate,
right.
powdered
the
Coffee Mate.
Non-dairy options are available, but actually, if you ever look at the ingredients in Coffee Mate, it's freaking gross.
Yeah, I'm not.
I get it.
I'm not talking about Coffee Mate. I'm just saying, like like if you had like a coconut milk, a CBD coconut milk that was formulated for your coffee. You know what I mean? That to me would make sense.
Yeah, I think something that doesn't need to be kept cold can work.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, again, this is something that you can probably just mix up fresh, and now you don't have to worry about shelf life stability and spoiling and going rotten and all that, right? Keep your milk in the refrigerator, keep your milk cold. When you're ready to make CBD milk to put in your wherever, whether it's coconut milk, oat milk, or whatever, just do that in your kitchen, right? What do you need a company to do that for?
Well, because people like the convenience.
Like
people like the convenience, Dr.
Right.
Mark. People aren't as savvy as you in that they just want a product that they can open and bust open and boom and be there. You know what I mean?
We're having two different conversations. Yeah. Dr. Mark, you're talking about to us, like as consumers. Yes, you're right. Me and the rest of the audience and anybody who might be listening, that's exactly what we would do. I mean, we're actually the people who would do that. But I'm talking about it from a branding perspective of creating products, and that most Americans, the reason that people even make these coffee pods in the first place is because most Americans want to just take a Keurig pod, put it in a coffee thing, and go, "Oh, I got my CBD."
Yep.
That's the thinking behind it. So I'm thinking along the lines, well, what could we make as producers that would actually be beneficial to people and give them a product that actually works?
Well, I like mother's milk. You know why? It comes in the cutest containers.
Titties?
No, you have to explain what mother's milk is to them.
Well, and Dr. T, isn't it true that mother's milk provides endocannabinoids, right? Aren't there endocannabinoids in mother's milk?
Oh, you mean literally?
I told you. I knew I was right about this, Dr. T. He's talking about titties, bro.
Okay.
Yep. See?
Yeah, this subject went off rails.
It's fair.
Yeah. No.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And on that, we're going to roll into our final.
With your children. Yeah.
What's that, Dr. T?
I said share that with your children.
Yes, and on that, we're going to roll into our final commercial, and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, your knees still bothering you, man?
Yeah, my left one, you know? But I'll tell you what, I've been using this new CBD cream, and it works like a miracle.
CBDs? I done heard about them CBDs. I was out there on them Twitters the other day, and I heard they get you high as a kite.
Well, not this stuff. This stuff is tested. Every batch, all the way through, pharmaceutical grade, and in a GMP certified facility. So you know you're not going to have to worry about flying high.
GMP certified? I might have to try some of this out. Where am I even find this?
You go directly to aimhighhemp.com and they will ship it to your door right away. Tested. It's not a name, it's a promise.
We're back.
Well, good. I'm glad we're back. You guys have been having plumbing troubles. Anyway, it's from the
if there's any
Pacific
plumbers
North-
out there, apparently Jenny's having plumbing problems. So throw a plunger in the chat if you want to help Jenny with her plunger problems.
Oh no, I don't need any help. My landlord just yelled at the plumber the HOA sent, so there's another one coming. So yeah, this is real good. Anyway, straight from the Pacific Northwest, I guess he's celebrating Hulk Hogan's life and legacy with his new ginger facial hair. Gwen Barney's husband, founder of Barney Design Co., and probably the reason why Nick Bradley doesn't watch anymore, Jesse Barney.
Yeah. It's new to you, Jenny Beth. This is old school Jesse Barney that I'm bringing back.
Yeah.
This is my motorcycle vibes, actually. In fact, the way I got my first motorcycle was I shaved this one day. This was like 10 years ago. And my daughter looked at me while I was shaving and she goes, "Dad, you need a motorcycle." I looked at the mirror. You're right.
It's a fucking expensive patch of facial hair, Jesse Barney.
I'm manifesting right now because I need a new motorcycle. So there you go.
Oh.
I was conflicted. I picked this story last night. I found a cool story that I wish we would have covered because there was a case of somebody getting severe mold infection in their lungs, and I wanted to cover it with the doctors today. But hopefully, maybe we can cover it next week or something. But I picked a story that's not medical today. And this coincided with a few stories that I saw, one that was also in Ohio. But the headline is this: cannabis sales in Washington fall for fifth year amid oversupply and declining prices. Cannabis sales across Washington state have been on a downward trend for 5 consecutive years with no signs of stopping, according to the Washington Department of Revenue. According to the Washington Liquor and Cannabis Board, the decline in sales largely relates to an oversupply of cannabis, which has driven prices down and reduced overall revenue to pre-pandemic levels. The price of cannabis is going down, 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 and the price of everything else is going up, said Ocean Greens, owner of a North Seattle pot shop. That is a fabulous name to have as an owner of a dispensary, Ocean Greens. The Washington Department of Revenue reported that $277 million worth of cannabis was sold statewide in the first quarter of this year. That seems really low for the state of Washington. That figure is nearly 100 million less than 2021 when sales peaked during the pandemic. Additionally, statewide sales numbers show yearly cannabis sales have declined annually since 2021. It is a pretty big surprise because usually this place is pretty busy when I come in here, said pot shop owner or a customer Jacob DeAngelis, noting the change in sales dynamics. Despite the decline in revenue, several pot shops in Seattle reported that they are still seeing the same number of customers as during the COVID-19 spike. However, the difference lies in the significantly lower pot prices, even as the cost of living continues to rise. There's not much difference between those days and now, just their top pockets are a little bit thinner, said Green. As pot prices trend increasingly lower, customers like DeAngelis expressed satisfaction. Quote, "You come in here with $30 and get an ounce. It gets the job done," he told Como News. "I'm glad the prices have gone down because I can come in here and get a whole lot more for my money." If the current trend continues, overall cannabis sales in 2025 are projected to be the lowest since 2019. Meanwhile, the state reported that all alcohol sales have remained largely unchanged since the height of the pandemic. Greens attributed this to people who keep drinking after they are already drunk, while the opposite is true of cannabis usage. Once you smoke a joint, you're already high, so smoking 2 joints will make you higher. Well, that's not necessarily true. That's somebody who doesn't know weed very well at all. I find this really interesting. I also saw that there was a headline that Ohio reported in their first year staggeringly low numbers compared to what they expected. They expected to do like $2 billion in sales, and they only did 700 million. Washington, and I can verify, I've been to the dispensary here. There's a lot of $25, $30, $40 ounces, which is just crazy to me. I don't know how you grow cannabis and sell it wholesale at a price where it can appear at a retail price of $25 an ounce, but it happens a lot here. And somehow that economic engine is running, which doesn't make any sense to me. I have no idea how you keep a farm alive, keep growing cannabis at that price, but it's very common here. The price is super down. There is way more growers and dispensaries here than I think the economy and number of residents can actually support. And I think this is common in legal states, especially as they mature. So this just does not portend well for the cannabis industry as a whole, as many things that we see are happening. So I'll toss this back to my fellow correspondents and see what they think.
I mean, first of all, Jesse, if I seen an ounce for $20, my first thought is there's no way in hell that I'm going to want to smoke that. Because there's not going to be the time or attention or care that's put into it, the love, any of that makes cannabis good.
Well, I have had some of it, and it is not great.
See,
for sure. It is definitely not great. I would say that there's a lot of poverty in this state,
and
as the customer that they interviewed said, I could spend $30 and it gets the job done. So a lot of people have that mindset of, does it get the job done?
Yeah, the past blue ribbon model.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So people want their PBR and their Rainier, and in the same way, they want the same thing with weed. They just want something that's okay, that gets the job done, and it's passable.
Yes, I wouldn't consider it passable. I mean, granted, I'm a higher end consumer, so but like to me, like I'd rather just not smoke than smoke something like that.
And now you can see part of why I haven't been smoking since February.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you what, Jesse, if you had to smoke a $20 ounce, I don't blame you for not smoking.
Hey man, that's exactly right. I've come to a place where even if it was expensive cannabis, I don't really want to smoke it because I can't track how they dealt with the soil or what they're putting in their nutrients or what they're feeding or what they're spraying on the plants. And there's so many factors going into growing cannabis. And if I can't track it with the grower and know exactly what they're doing, AKA I need to be the grower. Because then I know exactly what's going into it, what the inputs are, how it was grown, how it was treated, how it was harvested, how it was cured, etc.
Hawaii,
and that just matters to me.
Yeah, Hawaii Sustainable in the chat says a glass house has competition.
Oh, in Washington for sure, dude. I still can't. I can't put that together because, if you're talking about a $25 ounce in the dispensary, it's probably selling for $15 an ounce, which means you're talking about what, $150, $200 pound, and like, I don't know how. I've done the math before, and I don't think you can possibly make money as a grower at under $300 a pound.
Yeah,
just no way.
It's insane. It's insane to me. I don't understand it either.
And growers here in Washington are definitely, they're not outdoor growers. I could see maybe almost getting away with that and on a very large scale outdoor grow, but that's not happening here.
Yeah.
These are all indoor grows we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I just don't understand how they're running lights and doing inputs and it's not like most of them are even doing living soil that they're reusing. They're doing cocoa or they're doing rock wool. They're buying their substrate that they're growing in over and over again. So it's just like, how does this work? It doesn't make sense. Like, where's the money coming from that allows them to sell into the dispensary at that price? And I would also say this. Yeah, the weed that is at that price is not that great.
Well,
but it's also not as bad as you would think it would be.
Well, here's the thing.
I would think $30 an ounce weed would be like horrifying.
Well, hold on, Jesse. You got to know the tax structure in Washington, because the tax structure in Washington is a third. So a third of it goes to the cultivator. A third of it goes to the brand to the retail. You know what I'm saying? And the other third goes to the state of Washington. So in essence, if you're selling an ounce for $30, you're only getting $10 an ounce as a cultivator in Washington state.
Yeah, and that would be $140, $150 a pound.
Bro, that's be $160 a pound.
Yeah, I mean, and that's not, but that's total. So once you extract all of your costs, labor, inputs, lights,
packaging,
rent,
testing,
like, there's no way there's money left.
No, not a chance.
In fact, it would seem to me like you're
losing. Yeah, you're losing money every time.
You're paying money to get rid of that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how it keeps going.
You have any thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
Black market sales. That's how you keep going.
Yeah.
But the black market's even cheaper. This is why it's weird. They're still not making money anywhere.
No, I mean, it's, I said it earlier in my story. This is the proverbial race to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I think the presence of the pre-roll industry at BizCon this past year told the whole story, right? Everything is cheap pre-rolls, right? Where you're basically probably getting super sack at like, $300 for a super sack or $500. I don't know. Hawaii Sustainable will probably put me in my place here on what that. Hawaii, tell us what a super sack size of hemp goes for these days. Okay, so you grind it up, you spray a little bit of terpenes in there, which doesn't cost you a whole lot of money. Oh, and if you want to juice things up, add a little bit of THCA isolate, right, which is now a commodity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, there's your pre-roll market, right? And I don't know. I mean, like, I know, like, my wife goes to the store and buys pre-rolls all the time because, like, we're going to go out to a show and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to buy, like, a thing of weed. Now we got to roll our own. We just want to fucking buy our fucking pre-rolls. So then we're at a show later.
So you guys are about the convenience too, Dr. Mark. That's exactly what we're talking about. Yeah.
Totally all about the convenience and everything. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like I said, if you're producing, things that have jar appeal, why would you grind it up and put it into a joint? What goes into the joint is your fucking trim.
Mm-hmm.
Period. End of story. You're trying to get as much profitability out of growing cannabis as you possibly can. And what goes into pre-rolls is going to be nothing but trim, right?
Yep. I mean, and on that, Brian Dombrowski in the chat, he says Sam Walton built his company on losing money on selling socks. Pay attention to what happens next, gentlemen.
He is right, but there's not 1,000. He wasn't competing with 1,000 other Sams in his same state, or even in Washington's case, it seems like the one county.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how do you have 1,000 Sam Waltons selling the cheapest product possible all in the same location?
You just got to have the largest runway, Jesse.
That's what's happening. That's what I'm predicting as in the branding and economics of this. It's the best brand that wins, as well as the one with the most runway. And then what's going to happen is the biggest MSO with the most runway is going to end up buying up all these little brands and just either closing them down so that they don't have any competition, or then, extending the life of them. So it's kind of like all these people are just trying to sell these crazy cheap ounces just to stay alive. But how long can you really stay alive?
Well, time will tell, and we'll keep monitoring this as this type of stuff develops. But I'm going to go into our final story of the day today, you guys, because I think this is super, super interesting. Dr. Mark, I think you're going to love this story. All right, because it's a medical base. It's a study. All right, you ready for this? And chronic marijuana users display comparable, sometimes better, decision making than non-users, you guys. So shout out to good decision making, you guys. A new study published by the Journal of Psychological Research challenges long-held assumptions about chronic marijuana users and impulsive behavior, suggesting that habitual cannabis use may not significantly impair decision making. Research from the University of Texas and Washington State University compared chronic cannabis users to non-users in a series of cognitive and physical tasks. In one experiment, participants walked down a hallway and retrieved 2 cups of water, one closer and one farther from their starting position without spilling. Choosing the far cup first indicated a more proactive and efficient approach, while selecting the near cup first reflected reactive behavior often associated with procrastination. In results that researchers described as surprising, chronic cannabis users were just as likely as non-users to opt for the more efficient strategy, showing no significant difference between the groups. In fact, many users chose the far cup first, contradicting expectations that they would act more impulsively. The self-reported reasoning aligned with proactive planning rather than reactive impulse, and the study also used a separate cognitive task, the ACTS, contentious performance task, to evaluate control strategies. Both user groups demonstrated proactive control, even though chronic users scored lower on short-term and working memory measures. These findings run counter to common narratives that chronic marijuana use inherently leads to poor impulse control and diminished cognitive effort. Researchers suggest that when tasks involve low memory demands and clear consequences, marijuana users may be just as capable of efficient, goal-orientated decision-making as non-users, you guys. Well. Shout out to good decisions, and I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. This was a good decision to cover this story, Dr. Mark. What do you think? Dr. T, you have any experience with any of these studies?
This is a great study. It's absolutely wonderful. People always talk about what the high is, and they always assume it's associated with drugs like alcohol.
Yeah.
But drugs like alcohol do help people make poor decisions, or
irrational decisions, right? Erratic.
Yeah. It's part of the prefrontal cortex decision making, and the alcohol disinhibits, reduces impulse control. And to see that cannabis does the opposite really explains that the high is not, you can't blow your brains with cannabis. You're not blowing your brains with cannabis. You're actually doing something else, maybe more introspection, maybe more thoughtfulness, but it's not like, I'm just going to blow my brains out, get away from things. So all those teenagers out there that are looking for something to lose consciousness with, don't choose cannabis. It's not something where you lose consciousness. It's a great study.
Yeah, fair enough. Any thoughts on this, Jesse or Dr. Mark?
I mean, I agree. I haven't seen a lot of people in my life who think people try. They think cannabis will do that, and they try to use it for that purpose, but then it ends up not working. It ends up doing the opposite, which I think a lot of people experience as paranoia and anxiety, right? Increased levels of thinking where you're just really worried and scared about a lot of things, and you're thinking very rapidly, and that's how anxiety kind of builds up. And I don't see that this like what people say is couch lock. I mean, I have seen couch lock, and I have seen people get lazy, but I think it's rare. It's the opposite. It's not the most common. Like the most common experience is people get anxiety, they get anxious, they get a high level of energy. I know when I smoke cannabis, and my wife can attest to this, is like the moment I smoke and within 5 minutes, all of a sudden I'm like, I got to stand up and go do something. Like I can't even just sit there. It's not really possible. I get very motivated. I feel, I gotta go. I gotta paint or I gotta draw.
You start remembering all the stuff that you forgot that you needed to get done.
Yeah. I'm like, I gotta write lists and I gotta do stuff. And so, I think that this is a thing that needs to come out more and more.
Yeah, I tell patients it brings out more of who you are. Whether if you're someone who likes to get things done or who has that motivation, it may motivate you more to do that. If you're someone who likes to take a break, sit on the couch and not think of things, it may motivate you to do that. And so that really is not always dependent on what you take. It's just that who you are. Mindset, your mindset.
And to that point, Dr. T, I think very few people are, I'm just lazy and relaxed and don't want to do anything. Who is like that? Like there's not very many people who live their entire life feeling that way. You might have a phase of life where you're like that. I think we all have had a phase. I definitely have had a phase. There was probably a part of my teenage years where I was like, I just want to sit on the couch and watch cartoons, like I don't want to do anything. I don't want to do chores. I don't want to do anything.
I got a teenager who's doing that right now, and he doesn't use cannabis, right?
Yeah, but that's not the normal experience, I think, for most humans. Most humans, we're motivated. We want to survive. We want to live. We want to enjoy life.
Yep.
We don't want to succumb to pain and misery. And we figure out pretty quickly that being lazy is a pretty quick route to pain and misery.
Yes, exactly. Any final thoughts on this, Dr. Mark?
No, I mean, I think it's it's all good. I agree with what Dr. T said. What he tells his patients, just going to accentuate your own personality, but it affects everybody differently, and we use for different reasons. And so I think it's difficult to generalize around it, but it's good.
I had never heard of this ACTS study, this ACTS continuous performance task. But I was like, oh, that's super interesting, because I know me personally, I'm always trying to do the most difficult task first and then move on to the easier task. So then by the time that I'm done with all my tasks, the most easiest task I save for last. So I found that super, super interesting. That's actually something that, is a cognitive behavioral type of task that researchers use to determine things. I found that very interesting.
Some people have dessert first.
I'm a big believer in dessert first too. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at that. It's funny. My good buddy Rez, he's always the one that got me on having dessert first. He's like, bro, you gotta want to have dessert first. Because what they try to do is they try to fill you up on all this bread and everything, in the beginning. And it's like the bread's not good for you. It's going to turn to sugar anyway. So you might as well have dessert first and get your sugar. And then that way you don't need to eat the bread. And I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. It makes so much sense.
Does it work? Did you try it?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, no, I'm with it. It's something that I do quite often with people and share that experience with a number of people when we go out to different meals a lot of times. So yeah, that's not
Marie Antoinette, let them eat pig. Huh?
Yep, exactly.
I believe I remember having some dessert first with you at Green Street.
Yeah,
Jason.
Yeah. I did. I did. I told you guys. I was like, bro, we got to have dessert first if we're gonna do this. This is just how it goes.
And we did.
Yep. And after that, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst Cannabis for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing. Thank you to Cannabis Sativa L for giving us a reason to do this every day, and Cloud Media partners Elias and Kai somewhere in the metaverse. And thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show.